Survey says Kenyan women have a 59.5% chance of being a single mother by the age of 45, either through a premarital birth or dissolution of a union. We move on now to a survey done by the Kenya Demographic Households in 2014 that puts key indicators revealing that 39.9% of women between 15 and 19 years of age have already begun childbearing, and this number is up from 18% as was witnessed in the years 2008 and 2009. Join us in that conversation. The number is 22422. You can leave a short comment, your thoughts on this particular topic. Of course, do leave us your name and the location. We'll sample some of those during and at the tail end of this show. Of course, you can also tweet us on @Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Monday Special. I will quickly introduce my panel now that will be taking us through this discussion. To my immediate left, we have Christine Wanjiru Karaoke, who is a HR consultant, a facilitator, and participant of the Mother of Sons program, and who has also gone through this particular program. She will be sharing her insights on this show tonight. Welcome, Christine. Next to her, we have Joe Sakwa Okello, who is an electrical and electronic procurement officer at Nalu Holdings. He is the son of a single parent. He will also be sharing some of those insights with us. Next to Joe, we have Orpa Apola, who is a counselor or a counseling psychologist. She's a community trauma and response coordinator with Amani Counseling Center. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. We have John Wills Njoroge, a mentor, a consultant on masculinity, who is also the product of a single parent. Right? And finally, we have Pastor Sophie Mbevi, who is an author, facilitator of the Mother of Sons program, and she will be sharing some of these insights, of course, with us. Again, do join us in this conversation. We do appreciate your feedback already. We have some of your messages trickling in right before we start this discussion, but we will be sampling those as we go on with the show. I want to start with you, Joe. How has life been being raised up by a single mother?
Okay, I can't complain, first of all, because, you know, when you have a mother around, as a man growing up or as a boy, there's certain things that a mother will offer you that a father can't, like empathy, compassion, understanding, finding a common ground. You know, with a father, it's always my way or nothing like that.
Or the highway.
Yes. You are a child. You cannot think, you cannot reason, I know better. But with a mother, you try to listen to your side, try weigh in, is he right, or then try and explain why she's making you do what she wants you to do. I grew up like up to the first few ages. Growing up, my father was around, but it was passive, always at work, only seeing him during the weekends, and that's mainly Sundays after service. So most of my life up to now, I've known my mother to be the parent in the house. Your father is just the enforcer. When you do something wrong, it's, I'll tell your father, wait until your father gets home. You don't go to your father when something is bothering you, like you have issues in your life or anything, even education, you go to your father. You first go to your mother, and then when your mother can handle it, then it'll pass you on to your father, who sometimes will finish it, this thing, or like, what do you mean you can't do this? See, so I can't say it's a disadvantage growing up with a single mom, because she will offer you a lot that a father can't.
John Will, same scenario with you?
I tend to differ a bit because what I usually say is that if boys don't learn, men will never know. And how boys learn, they pick a lot from their fathers. And the scripts that young men are using nowadays, it's only what they have seen from their fathers. And so what I would say is that there's one, I have a good memory of one experience that we had with my dad, though He walked away when I was 8 years old. But having said that, all I can say is that it was a difficult season for my mom, because she's dealing with emotions and all those other things. And here is a thing by the name John Wills, who is male, and she can't understand him. And so I brought a bit of trouble at home. She tried to manage that. But I can say that men, growing up without a father, there are three things that a young man lacks, and that is affirmation, affection, and acceptance. Because one of the questions that every young man is asking himself is, am I man enough? And the only person who can answer that question is the father. Yes.
All right. Your father left when you were 8 years old, so you already knew him until the point where you were 8. Did you know your father when you were growing up?
Yes, I knew my father. I knew my father very well. My father, he is only geographically not around. He works abroad. So he's still there. He's still there, yes. It's a big part of my life. But he has been there since 95, was it? I think, if I can remember clearly. 95, he hasn't been in the same geographical area as me. Comes once in a while, but it's not the same as having him there each and every day.
All right. Christine, we'll move to you. How has it been raising a son, on your own with an absentee father?
I'll correct that. I am married, and yes, the father is very present. But I'll take it in this way. I can speak probably on what I have seen in the society from my friends, and also what we are experiencing. It has become quite common. The men are there, but they're not there. And bringing up boys on your own as a lady is can prove to be quite difficult. In this one thing, you're a girl, you're not a boy, so you can't reason as a boy. You cannot, there's no way you can bring out that boy if you don't know what he's thinking, what he's going through, what are his needs, because they are very, very different from us. You'll find that it's easier to bring up a girl because you're one. Okay? And that's where now the program comes in, and that's where you're exposed to now trying to understand their world, because it's a different world, which makes it a bit easier for us to go in and look at the world through their eyes. Yes.
All right. Orpa, if I could quickly cross to you, what are the different scenarios that you have to deal with as you deal with children in this type of situations, in households where the father could be there, but he's really not there? Like Joe is saying, geographically not there, or a father who just decided that, I am not responsible for this child, or the minute you tell me I am pregnant, that's it, I'm gone. What are the different scenarios you hear on a daily basis when you're dealing with this?
Thank you, Jackie. What comes across, actually, let me acknowledge what John Willis has said, and also what Joe has shared, that both scenarios have actually happened. We've received cases which are similar. There's a possibility, as Christine says, that it's difficult for a single mother, to relate with the young boy because of the masculinity, personality that the boy would want to take up the traits later on, which is quite difficult for a woman to do that. That is one. And two, yes, affirmation needs to be there, support needs to be there, and this is where the boy will learn to be a man by having a role model who is around. So when we are talking about all-round business working, maybe fathers who are, yes, they are there in name but not present, because if you are saying fathers are present, then how many times have they had meals with their sons, if they can count in a week? How many hours? Most probably you'll find that maybe it's about a few minutes, maybe 7 minutes is when they've had contact with their sons, and after that, nothing else. So the son will actually not count it as a contact with the father. The only time they can remember that they've had contact with their fathers is when they've had some maybe quality talk. Maybe the father has helped the son to do some homework, or just having a meal and chatting and finding out who is your best friend, how was your day, touching, having contact. That is very important. And the cases we've been having is that fathers have been missing in action. Yes, they are there in name, but as Joe puts it, he's there but not geographically present. So in actual fact, what I can add is that yes, we can have present fathers in a relationship with the mothers, and the absentee fathers, maybe by choice of the mother to be separated or divorced or sometimes widowed. The results are almost similar, yes, in children.
All right. Pastor Sophie, according to these two different surveys that we were just going through, when young girls are between the ages of 15 and 19, already 39.9%, that's a big number, are already, engaging in childbearing. It could be by choice, it could be, by circumstances. Every situation, of course, is unique. So why the Mother of Sons program?
Thank you, Jackie. The Mother of Sons program is basically what has been said here by these good panelists. We're saying that it takes a boy, it takes a man to bring out the masculine, or to model the masculine life to another young boy. And we're saying pretty much up to when a boy is around 13, going through the rites of passage, the closest parent that they relate to is the mother. And I personally remember we have a daughter, firstborn, and then we have a son. And when this guy came into the world, he was just a different child, and I could not understand certain things about him. But as we began to prepare this Mothers of Sons program, I just realized he is different, not because he's my second child, but because he's a boy. And I began to understand that there are certain ways in which I need to relate with my son, not to feminize him. I need to let him run wild, because there's the hormone T that's driving him and may not allow him to really sit still and be organized and composed like my little girl. So, and that really brought a lot of peace for me personally and as an individual. And made me realize my boy is wild, but he's fine. It's okay for him to be a boy. And I decided, okay, let me even make this space boy-friendly. I began to be very deliberate about creating opportunities for him to burn that energy that's just coursing through him. So the Mothers of Sons program really is saying, women, come out and understand boys, come and sort of get inside the little mind of a boy and find out what is it that is going on in there. Secondly, we are telling women, like Joe has said, women have a lot of great qualities. And we say that you can be an amazing mother to your children, but you can never be the father. And we just have, that may not sound very nice to some of us, but it is just factual. That is the way it is. And we are saying to women, kudos, thank you for being amazing mothers, but allow men to be there for their children, and especially for their boys. They need it. Masculinity is caught from another man. I cannot teach my son to be a man, because I never was a man, never will be. I remember my son coming with issues, asking me questions of anatomy. I mean, there are things I don't have that you can't relate to, will never understand. So it really did help to have a man speak to my son,
your son,
and say, this is how men are, they have these gadgets, this is how these gadgets function. And it just took the pressure off me. What could I have told him anyway? Yes, I would have told him maybe what his teacher in the biology class would have said.
Indeed.
But a man talks about experience, just like the way I'm able to guide my daughter in ways of womanhood, because I've been there. I've been a little girl. I've never been a little boy. So we are telling women, please come, let's have this conversation. Realize that when you're parenting a boy, you're parenting beyond your depth and experience as a parent. And so just come and learn.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, we do realize, and we do pay due respect to the fact that raising a child could be either way. It could be from a single mother or a single father. You could be raising a girl or you could be raising a boy. The choice to look at raising the male child particularly is because we have so many issues just around how they grow up, issues to do with their identity, the naming process, and these are some of the things that we will be looking at. But we take a short break now. Don't go away. Remember to keep on engaging us on 22422. Leave your name and your location, and of course you can tweet us at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Monday Special KE. We'll be back after these messages. All right, thank you so much for staying with Monday Special. We are taking, of course, your comments on 22422 and on Twitter at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Monday Special KE. Right before we read some of your tweets, we just want to discuss a few questions that are coming in here. For instance, how do you help a child cope with the question of identity as they're growing up? Did you have a problem with identity?
Big time.
Big time.
Yes. And when I respect my mom and I celebrate her. But I remember this one time as a young boy, I tried what Pastor Sophie was talking about, adventure. So back then we were in our rural home and we went swimming. Coming back home, I was looking like someone from the jungle. I had a beating, but for me that was exciting. That was adventure, and I liked it that way. So what happened is that I decided not to be going with my friends, but to stay at home with a few other guys. So when I went to high school, I didn't have my dad, and register John Wills, Njoroge, Wanjiro, and I was like, oh my God. No, these are the guys you hear, they can talk about their fathers and all that. So it was a challenge for a man. But my former high school principal, one time he called me and said, "You're my son." And that changed my life completely, because now I knew that I have a father that I can talk about. And so identity is a big thing for a young man. And the big question they're asking themselves is, when will I become a man? Who can claim me? They want to be claimed by someone. And it's the same thing even for the girls. Like now, if a girl grew up without her father, when someone comes and tells her that you're beautiful, she will fall for that, because that's a man's voice claiming this person. And so every young man desires to be claimed by someone. They want a sense of belonging.
And we've had this discussion before. There are certain factors that lead to this single parenting situation. It could be out of choice, it could be out of circumstance, it could be that the father is irresponsible and, as we were saying earlier, decided to run for the hills the minute that you came and said, hey, look here, 9 months from today we're going to have a baby, and they say, you trapped me. So there's so many issues that young women, if I would say, have to deal with, and they end up raising these children on their own. And something that you've just brought up, how then do you deal with the naming situation? Like you're saying, do you go register John Wills Wanjiro, you're a mother? You understand what I mean? How do you, try to balance out that situation? If you would not want the father to be involved maybe in the birth certificate, and of course there's a big debate going on in this country right now about that. How do you ensure that, you know, this child will not have a problem later?
Okay, from my family background and on my maternal side, we had a few issues like that coming up. But there's one thing I must say I noticed was that the children who were born of single moms, and I think I had one aunt who was a single mom, and I realized that instead of her naming her children and giving her name, as we are doing nowadays, where we have Njoroge Wanjiro, she actually gave her father's name. Okay? And that was very profound because he was the one who was present. He's the one who took over the manhood role, the father role. And on top of that, the children had an identity. They could tell, we are from this lineage, we are from this household, we are from this clan, this is the man. At the end of the day, even us who are related to them, we are cousins, but we are from the same household. But for them, it made them have an identity and they didn't feel lost. And I think we have now turned away from that. And it has become common to have the Njoroge Wanjiro, which, as you can hear, is bringing issues. Because when John Wills here becomes a doctor, does he become Dr. Wanjiro? What happens?
The young man in me wants to be identified as a man in the society. So I'll keep on fighting. And one of the things is that a young man creates an attitude of, okay, you think I'm a lady, so you want to prove a point. And that's a big
the masculinity question.
Yeah,
of course.
So you keep on fighting battles that are not worth fighting, because for the men, when they come together, one of the things that they want to prove to the society is, I'm a man. Yes. Now, how do you start?
I want to, you know, take a very sensitive direction. There's a question of, like we were saying, circumstance. What if you're raped? Yeah, and one, of course, you would not name your child after that. Most people would do what Christine is saying and name the child after their father. But what about those special circumstances? How do you raise your child up to cope, you know, with the fact that the identity, quote unquote, that you're creating for them is not something that, you know, you're not being bad at being a bad mother, or, you know, it's the circumstance.
What I would want to say is that, I mean, circumstances are there. I mean, people, by whatever circumstance, we have single parents. Like she said, some it's by choice, others it's by reasons, because of reasons beyond their control. But no matter what the circumstance, I'm saying there is a child to be brought up. And if we sit down and start considering, oh, you know, this was the issue, guess who falls through the cracks? It will be that young boy that is coming up, and not just him, many generations later. So I think the first thing that in such circumstances that are traumatic like rape, I think the mother needs to begin at the place of healing herself by seeking counseling, by coming to terms with what happened, and to say, you know what, that happened, it's traumatic, she never probably will get over it, but and really it calls for selflessness. So you're saying, let the suffering stop with me, let me not pass it on to another generation. And then having done that, having come to terms with what has happened to you, or the circumstance by which you have found yourself in that situation, then I think only then can you begin to help this person. Because you can now sit down with this child and begin just to talk to them, of course at age appropriate, begin to talk to them about the circumstances by which they are in that situation. And to tell them, it doesn't matter by what circumstance you have come to be, you now are, you have a great destiny, and you begin to name them. And John Wills talked about claiming. And I think even as women, we can also, as single women bringing up our children, we can name our children. You can see, as your child is growing up, you can see certain qualities about your little boy. And you can begin to name him something like my lion. Don't call him my pumpkin and some other funny things like, or baba or boy. That man.
And when he's 18, he's still boy.
He's still boy, you know? Call him Lion and tell him, I'm naming you Lion because a lion is bold, a lion provides. Begin to give this child a vision of masculinity in the future. And like I say, we live in a very resourceful world. Even when the father is not available, either by choice or by circumstance, there are many great men around. There are teachers, there are Sunday school teachers, there are brothers, maybe you have brothers, you have uncles who are willing to step into that role. Begin to point your child to that father figure, because at the end of the day, you will be glad that they became a man. And I know it's very easy for us as women to seek our own identity and to seek to heal our wounds through these children. But when they have grown up and they're not now being the men that they are expected to be, and we are now paying the price, it won't be sweet. So I think we are doing everybody a favor, beginning with ourselves, by pointing these little boys to other people around them.
So of course they need a strong mentor, that they can emulate,
a role model.
I'll just cut you short a bit. I want us to take some of the tweets that are coming up. If we could have that on our screens. All right, there you go. County Watch Kenya says children, especially boys raised without fathers, tend to suffer an identity crisis throughout life. Something, of course, that we had just mentioned. Jackson Carrero says low esteem, poor morale, socially shy kids, and precisely affects the boy child. Maverick Nyambu says lack of a father figure might lead to juvenile delinquency, drug abuse, poor grades, early pregnancy, etc. Joyce Birir, I hope I said that right. Children do well without them, irregardless of the reasons. It all depends on how the mother brings them up. Kitui Amos says irresponsible behavior because they learn bad behaviors from their fellow children. And Vioketa, I hope I said that right again. There has to be a law where parents are forced to spend time with their kids, whether parents are in good terms or not. Do you do you agree? Like you have to go for someone?
One thing we are forgetting to mention is sometimes the father being present might be a problem. If you have an alcoholic father who is violent, him being present is a problem, because I am a bit fortunate. I grew up in a traditional African community where, as a child, you belong to the community. My neighborhood in Umoja 1, my uncle lived, two of my uncles actually lived 2 doors down. My godparents were ever present. Each and every weekend I used to see my godparents, and my uncles were there around me. So if you have an alcoholic and a drug abuser father, is it necessarily good for him to be around?
Can I say something about that? Actually, what Joe is bringing up is very important. As we said, that you can have, yes, both parents, but is the father being supportive enough? Is he playing the important role of the masculine trait that will build up into a better personality for the young boy? Actually, not all single, as we had seen, not all single mothers are bringing up their children in the wrong way. Some of them are actually, yes, supportive, and they bring up their boys in a good way. You can have the fathers, yes, as Joe says, the father can be abusive in the sense that he could be verbal, He could be verbal, abusing, insulting all the time. Yes, he's present. He could also be physical. He could be beating you up. And I remember when we were just chatting and Joe was sharing, if I may, if I may say that, he was actually bringing to light how some of his cousins grew up in a very, what did you call it? Chieftaincy kind of ruling. And it can also be not very healthy for these boys to grow up in such a surrounding, because what they're actually experiencing and seeing is thinking that this is the kind of life that I need to be when I grow up. That's where now we have all sorts of abusive relationships in future. We have adults who are in abusive relationships. And
so this could just not be a perception, but maybe that's what the statistics show.
Yes.
Do you agree that the male child is therefore underprivileged because most of them, become juvenile delinquents, more likely to engage in drug abuse, alcohol abuse, have emotional problems? There's an array of, issues that are linked to a male child brought up by a single mother. Do you agree?
If you allow me to just continue on that line, it actually comes out more profound when the mother is more present, as in, yes, the father is there, but the mother is the one who calls the shots. You can actually tell in the home that the mother is the one who speaks. Therefore, the gender roles have been switched. So what is happening is the son is confused. He doesn't know how exactly to behave. And he's thinking that, yes, my father is supposed to be the safe security and the leader. And when he sees the roles have been changed, he doesn't know what is happening. Therefore, that is what happens. But psychologists say that we are actually told that fathers play key role when they take the charge and they do most of the discipline, yes.
What about reprimanding, for instance, just, on what you're talking about? When you're reprimanding the child, most setups, mom is the bad one or mom is the, so when the father is the enforcer, who do you run to in most situations?
You were a child and you were
when I was a child,
and you were told,
my parents could be watching, but when I was a child, my mother was, the no-nonsense one. So you run to your father because he's soft and he'll tell you, don't do that again.
Actually, a mother's beating, a mother's beating is lethal. Because she wants to cast out this thing that is messing up with your brain. Yes. So let me say that there are high expectations, but they don't have a roadmap, the young boys. Because there are 5 levels. You have when he's an infant, then he's a child, the expectations, he's an adult, he becomes a father, no roadmap, he becomes an elder. And you have few elders in our country today. And one of the challenges that we've had is that there are also mothers who grew up without a father. So they don't know how to relate with a man in the house and also the young boy. So in this process of trying to figure out how to do these things, when a man messes up, then the mom is trying to remove this thing in the son that behaves like the father. And one of the challenges that we've had in our society, I remember I resembled my mom. So one time she was asking me, okay, tunafanana, but
is it a season?
Yes. and she didn't understand what was happening in my life, as in I'm male, and she was struggling with a few other things.
And on that, when you get to a certain age, I think all of us were rebellious at some point. If you were not rebellious, I mean, Pastor Sophie is in the house. Yes, there's that age, where you don't want to be told, when as you're saying, you're curious. So if you're a single mother, then how do you instill, like you're saying, the words you're using, not my words, casting out the mothers. But how then do you help your child with this behavioral change and you're a single mother? Because then you cannot say, go to your father, or, you know?
There's a young boy I was mentoring, raised by a single mom. And one of the things I realized is that all he needed was affirmation, because affirmation is like oxygen in a man's heart. So his grades, he was performing poorly in school. They thought that he was rebellious. So one of the things I did is we met with this young man and I told him, I love you. And he was scared. How do you tell me you love me? And I just told him, I love you for who you are, because you're a king. And that changed his life completely. So when he went back home, the mom called me and said, what happened? Because I've never seen this. All he needed was affirmation, just that. Yes, and belonging. So one of the things I can suggest is that mothers are doing a great job, and I can clap for all the mothers. They're doing a great job in our society. But they need to understand that there's something that they cannot give their sons. There are good men out there, and they can recommend someone or even invite someone to work with their son. It works wonders. Yeah.
Can I say something about parenting? You're saying that I think in every couple where there's a parenting partnership, a father and a mother, there will tend to be one person who is a disciplinarian. And I think sometimes by default, the mother becomes the disciplinarian because you're the primary nurturer and the primary caregiver. You're the one who spends most of the time with that child. The onus is on you as a mother, on me as a mother, to correct, because I will not wait for daddy to come and discipline. By the time he comes, the child will not even understand why he'd have forgotten. What was the mistake again? What did I do? And the whole idea of correction is you correct on the spot, so that then you reinforce the correct behavior. And so I'd say there shouldn't be one bad person. There should never be bad cop, good cop situation in a parenting. You end up undermining each other's authority. If there's good cop, bad cop. Every child should know what mommy says, daddy affirms, and the other way around. Otherwise, it ends up confusing the children. It ends up creating cases, and those people end up in Olpa's office many years later.
What about what mommy says and there's no daddy to affirm?
Okay, I would like to interject on that and say that, as they have both said, that when you're a single mom, there are some tools or gifts you can give to your son that can really build him and can make a huge difference for him, regardless of whether he has a father or what the world is saying about him. Wills has talked about affirmation. Affirmation, as he has called it, is oxygen, and it's key. Once you affirm a child, a boy, when he has done the right things, you praise him. You're his cheerleader. I mean, you're the person who attends his sports. You're that person who tells him well done. You're that person who will even, watch him race with his friends out there, and you're his cheerleader. You're the person in his life. He feels affirmed. That's enough. It has to start from there. There is also acceptance, to the point that when your son goes out there, there are challenges. Every day for a man is a challenge. It's like a war, right? You get out of that door and it's a war, and you want to come back home and where you can have peace. And I think it starts from an early age. If you give it to your child, your young son, and he knows whatever happens, if I'm punished in school, if everybody says I'm bad, if all my friends don't want to play with me, or if there is peer pressure, there's trouble out there, mommy loves me, regardless of whether I'm tall, short, thin, I look funny, I don't look like her, I'm a different color. Acceptance, belonging is critical for a boy. And if he can get those things from you as a parent, then all those other things become like songs, you know, around. And he can choose to dance to the music or not. But he is well grounded. And as even Pastor Sophie is trying to say, intentional parenting, not just letting your children grow up. Most of us just grow up, we're not brought up. So bringing up your children intentionally, wanting to know what's going on with this child. Why are they behaving like this? Why are they reacting like this? What are they going through? Because most of the time, something very, very small in the home can really trigger a serious reaction. A father who was present every day, comes home in the evening, does homework with the children, all of a sudden has been transferred to Transmara somewhere, and he has to go. And you don't even take time to explain to the children that now daddy is moving away, and so that now they can realize that that vacuum will probably be filled in by mommy, or something has to happen. There will be a change in the home. Once that is not done, then you realize that tomorrow you're being called to school, your child is fighting, all of a sudden they're the naughty one, and it's just those small transitions.
And of course that's, Christine, vis-a-vis, you know, introducing now a new person, like a new partner, because, you know, a single mom might not be single forever. So if you get a new partner, how then you introduce that partner to your child, how then they can gel, how do you help your child cope with the presence of a new person? If you don't have that, and you don't have, you know, a male figure around you, a brother, a best friend, someone, who do you take your child to assist get that identity, that masculinity in modern day Kenya, where the women are choosing, again, they're choosing, or the men are simply responsible. My director Kanzi is saying the men have become weird. But, you know, they're choosing not to be there because this is a choice. And, you know, as one of our viewers was saying, you have to force someone to be there to raise their child.
Is that my greatest fear is failure. For any man, it's failure. And how they interpret it, if a man discovers that he's failing, one of the things he does, he disappears. Yes. Or he rejects you as a person. And that's why I like what Christine said about affirmation. Affirmation is key, and it's good to call out this person. My mom didn't have a script how to raise me. I was jumpy, I was doing all sorts of things. And one of the things I realized is that when she discovered that she can affirm what I'm doing, life changed completely, and communication changed completely.
Of course, and it's important also to not keep the communications line open. Orpa, I saw you itching.
Actually, what Pastor Sophie was talking about was support system, and it's important if you're a single parent to have that. As Njoroge said, yes, his teacher took him up as a son. And if there is a brother, if there is a cousin, if there is a father, as Christine said, and also most important in churches, we have those programs of role models and mentorship. I would also like to say something about the absentee fathers, or those who fear in failing. There's a possibility that they don't know how because they were never introduced into that kind of roles. So they'd rather disappear than be present. That's a possibility. Because for one fact, what has been coming out is that when there's a young girl and a young boy, I mean a young man, and both of them are having a relationship and the girl eventually becomes pregnant, the first thing that the boy will do is to run because of the responsibility. Yes, there's no script. That fear of becoming a parent, he doesn't know what to do and all that. But now, since we have these mentorship programs, then it will work.
And a note, of course, to all the mothers, there's no such thing as being a superwoman. You cannot do it on your own. You cannot do it all, in as much as, of course, you would want to. A discussion I know we want to keep going, but we really must take a short break now. But for you watching us at home, do keep the conversation going on 22422 and on Twitter at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Monday Special KE. When we are back, Hussein Mohammed will be joining me in studio to sample some of your messages. Don't go away.